Is specialism about waiting for your turn? Now, this is a idea that is a bit of its own oversimplification. I know that the jack of all trades is supposed to be its own systemic way of doing things. It doesn't have to always be about specialism or jack of all trades either. It could also be about the other ideas I had as well. Not just those as well, because there could be other things I may not be aware of. But the idea I had outside jack of all trades specialism was things like templation, which was like the idea that you could have schemes of, again, segmentation. I keep saying that, schemes of routes you go through where you practice certain things and not in a group of them in a certain pattern, so that way it does. I'm trying to explain this as best as I can, but like a certain pattern where you do certain things and a group of them all together, and they rotate per se. They rotate so that when you have other things to interact with, you do them in a certain foundation that's the same over and over again, but it pushes them differently because of the effect they have come together. So that's one way I go about that. But for the sake of this video, we're talking about specialism and if it's all about waiting for your turn, or if there's something more to it than that. So really, we have the Balrog from Cave Story thumbnail here, and it also has the crown, the demon crown from the Doctor, who wears it throughout the game. And by the way, this game is almost like more than 15 years old. Oh my gosh. I'm almost, well, it's more than 15 years now because the 15-year anniversary was the 30th anniversary of Walter Grummet. A little hint of that. I can try to celebrate Pixel and Arden for the 20th and 31st, 5th if I can. But I'll go for that. Not to wait too long, but yeah. I have a cool Claymation idea for that incoming if I can make it, but yeah. But yeah, specialism. I think when you wait for your turn, you're just generally trying to be polite. But is specialism the kind of thing where you don't have too many skills at once, so you're focused on one skill or so, or a handful, or just two, etc. You're focused on a skill so that by the time the opportunity comes to use it, or even the opportunity with social people, way I word that, the way you interact with your employers or employees or coworkers, the way you interact with them as an example, or the way you interact with any other part of your career or route of work or purpose or whatever, what have you. And if your specialism isn't something that you're used to using, and you have to wait for your turn for that to come out, that's the context I'm using, for that to come around and be used, then that, I can see how that could be problematic. Now, I know that, again, that's an oversimplification. There could be more to it than I realize. Or even getting off that, I already know how to explain. But even, it's just, because compared to Jack of all trades, for this matter, the Jack of all trades doesn't have to literally be a master of nothing either. He could be a master of everything, which is diabolically impossible to some people, and for others, they know the chaos and paradox of that is still true to an extent. You can actually make that happen. You can be great at many things, and people will say, "Oh, you're perfect at everything," and that there you go, subjective of anything. But it doesn't have to be subjective, but that'd be its own diabolicy in that as well. But I'm not saying that any of that is impossible. I'm just saying that if it's possible, it's not meant to be possible for some reason. You like defeat the purpose of a certain lesson you could learn. But like, maybe not so much of greed or even arrogance, but it's but specialism, when you're focused in general, focus is good for a lot of things, including like meditation or your well-being, so like your mental health, your spiritual growth, all that. So when you specialize in anything, your focus is what you're really looking for here. Not just trying to be good at something that you actually could be a master at, but to actually focus in general. It's a very important thing. And that could be something a little bit short than I realized. But waiting for your turn, like in an RPG sense, like in an RPG, you wait for your turn and you already know how to strategize. That's already the wisdom literally behind that, is that you wait for your turn so that you can figure out what to do, whether you're timed or whether you're strategizing and taking your time. But time would mean both good and bad things at that point. I know how to profit out of that by my head for some reason. But the good thing about waiting for your turn in an RPG is that you get to systemically, in an entertaining way and in a wise way, figure out what to do. In a bad sense, it's also pressuring you to do so if you're literally timed, or even if you're not being that timed as much, but you're still having to think about making the most of the time you're using while you're waiting for the other rounds to go through. And that's an RPG sense, role-playing game. Not roll grenade, whatever. But specialism in waiting for your turn, I didn't mean to compare and contrast that too much, as I'm already used to, but you do have to think about how the specialism is coming through, even in a 24/7 sense, when you're thinking about how specialism can still be applied in your field consistently and without restraint. That is already true for a lot of things. So I know that that's the point that some people might really want to make in this video. In the comments below, if you want to talk to me about that, yeah, go ahead. But how that works, if even that's not what it is, but specialism and taking time and waiting for your turn, or specialism in terms of waiting for your turn. There is not too much I could say about that, other than maybe how you do have to take your turns even in jack of all trades. With jack of all trades, if you take your turns, you're either switching gears for the skills you have, whether they're higher or lower level. However, low level people will apply for that for some cliche reason. Or even the specialism that you don't have to always be a guaranteed high quality thing, which would be kind of a burden, saddening truth, if even that's underrated. But yeah, any of that can be possible, honestly. Even the things I just said were diabolical, that could be possible. I'm not saying you would be devoid of the lesson you're supposed to learn, or even should learn for those things. But if specialism means that you have to sacrifice anything to be good at anything else, I do believe in the trade-off thing more so than karma. Karma being every good thing for every bad thing, or revenge, or trivial, or more important, where he's like anything in karma is like equal energies for what you give or get, or something like that. And then like that's half the story of that. But I guess and then trade-offs, where I go with this is I favor trade-offs a lot, where there's always a better quality and a good quality for every bad quality and bad level. And if you're good at something, you're bad at something else, vice versa. And that's why I go with the specialism thing. It's like, if you're going to be bad at your specialism, you're probably influencing other things that don't have to even be identified as skills. And that's where you really come in as someone who made the most of your focus. Is that your focus doesn't have to be with the result you made. I made a video about this earlier, where the seeds you grow don't have to literally be the plants you try to reap. And that was that one other video with the sunflower in it. But the clay sunflower. But anything that you specialize in, even if it doesn't make you impatient, you can still probably get results faster than you believe to, by focusing and just by knowing that you actually cared about making a decision. And that should be invaluable enough to make a point of its own, without having to learn certain lessons about anything you do, whether it's a narrow focal point or a wider focal point. And that's really what I should leave you with, is making sure that you know how to silo your lenses into anything in particular, not just a skill, not just a decision, anything in particular. If you know how to do that, even if the opportunity is never used for that, you still are way better than many people who would ever hope to have any option in particular, let alone a plethora or abundance of options, let alone if they were in scarce options and even do that. You're better off than them. I guarantee that. You're going to know things that, even if your specialism sucks and you don't know what the heck you're doing with the skill you have, if that's the only example I should ever make for this video, which I apparently haven't, you're still going to be ahead of them. And yeah, thank you guys very much. I'll see you in maybe another video today or tomorrow, or for the next of the weekdays later on. See you guys. Take care. Oh, I'll show you this real quick. Balrog and the Demon Crown. Alright, take care, guys.